I'm not ready. I told the owner, I'm not ready. I don't know anything about business. I don't know anything about numbers. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know I only know how to do the job. I have like $80 in my account right now. Like, I have no money to buy a business. I have no money. You have no money. Like, no one has money.
Sometimes the magic you are looking for is
Yeah.
in the work you're avoiding.
100%.
Like the things you don't want to
Yeah.
do because it makes you uncomfortable
Yep.
is what you should be doing sometimes.
Yep. Don't be afraid to open up a business, or don't be afraid to grow your business. Commit now, figure it out later.
In today's episode, we have our friend Nestor, who started as a technician, bought an auto repair shop, and then scaled it to millions. He's also part of the 10X coaching program and has gotten a lot of coaching from Grant Cardone and his 10X business program. And today he's going to tell us what he did to buy the business, scale the business, and his plans for franchising the business. So Nestor, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on the podcast.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah,
you
of
guys.
course.
It's such a pleasure to be on a podcast with you guys. You guys are great friends, and I love what you guys do. You guys are helping me a lot with what we're doing together. So it's very nice to be here. Like you mentioned, my name is Nestor Gutierrez, and yeah, I've been in business for this will be 5 years in August, and yeah, the journey has been a little bit rough at the beginning, but I mean, we live and we learn, and
That's how it is for
what gave
entrepreneurs.
100%. What gave me speed was mentorship. That's that simple.
Yeah. So take us back when you were a technician at the shop. Did you always know you wanted to buy the business when you're a technician there? Like, what was your thought process? Like, how was Nestor when you were at that level?
Nestor was really close-minded and super shy. It wasn't on my mind to buy a shop.
Okay.
Not even close. I was trying to be in the dealership because that's like the tech life. That's like the dream, you know. Go to school and go work at a nice dealership. When I started working at the Rancho Express Loop, it was just by coincidence. The road was closed. There was a roadblock. There was a detour. I was driving from school. I looked left. Now hiring. Just took my shot. I got hired as a loop technician, and it was really slow.
And you were out of school at that point, or you're still?
Yeah, I had left the campus because we were going on a break. It was like a spring break.
So how old were you at this point?
I was about to be 19.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then you just randomly got a job at
Yeah,
this
literally,
place.
like just almost the whole first year of school, I had no job. So I had previous earnings from high school, and that's what kind of made me go through the motions. But when that happened, the business was really slow. They had acquired it recently. It had gone through different ownerships and a lot of struggles, and it was super slow. I didn't really like it, to be honest. Sometimes I would go and I would do like just 2 or 3 cars, and I would work a 8-hour shift.
Oh wow.
So that means I had to do a lot of cleaning, a lot of mopping, a lot of stuff, which I didn't mind. You know, I mean, like a job is a job, but at the end of the day, things move really fast. I remember the first 2 weeks were a little bit of like a discovery, because that was kind of like my first official job. Before that, I was working with my dad, doing like just farm work, and it just felt weird. You know, it's just kind of like I didn't know how I was supposed to feel, and I just didn't like the fact that I was being approached not in the best way by the management. You can tell they were racist. They didn't like me, and after the month, I wanted to quit. I just didn't like the way I was treated, and I told the owner, hey, I want to quit. And
How was your relationship with the owner? Like,
so the first month was obviously new. Kind of like he didn't feel like maybe I was the right fit for the company because I was young, obviously.
Yeah.
Like to him, maybe it seemed like I didn't know what I was doing because it was the first time working at a shop like that. But I did have background before that. I knew what I was doing, but just not experience wise, legit, you know, it wasn't like that. But I told him, hey, you know what's happening? I know it's my word against theirs. I'm just telling you that I'm just not happy, and I'm just gonna leave. And then it kind of like opened his eyes a little bit because he was an absentee owner. He was never really there. And he looked at cameras. He realized what things really happened. And some of those things that happened were I literally did everything in the car, like from start to finish. And the brothers, the manager and the assistant manager, would be in the back just smoking. And I had to bust my ass. And they were telling the owner that I was always late, that I had an attitude, that I wasn't like following directions, like complete opposite. So it bothered me, and we moved really fast. Got promoted to assistant manager 6 months later, and then within like the first year, I became the manager. The next struggle was I was only 19 at the time, and I had people that were 30, 45, 50. So you know how that goes. You know, it was a young kid telling an older person what to do, and they didn't like that. So it was a lot of struggles, you know, going through those ranks at the beginning to get to the position to buy the
once
shop.
you got to manager, were you like, I kind of like this job, or you?
So
or
I didn't.
Maybe I can buy this place, or it still didn't
It
cross
really
your mind. No, it's still not yet.
nothing, because I hated actually the manager position. I
Okay.
kind of liked the pay to an extent, but like I hated the manager position because I was super close-minded, introverted, didn't want to speak to people, hated the front desk, and I hated it, you know.
Yeah.
And I told them many times, like, dude, just get someone else. Either no, I like you, I hate it.
So would you have rather worked on the car than be a manager?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because that's what I enjoyed doing, you know. And the whole people customer service was just like, I freaking hate it.
I love all that stuff.
And-
Like, I love people. I would
Yeah.
love a front desk. Like, hi, welcome. What do you need today? Like, how's your day?
Yeah, not me. I was completely opposite, you know. And he saw things in me that I didn't see at the time, and I mean, a lot of props go to him because he would always push me to do the things I hated, and he noticed that I could be good at it because I did listen. I would get it done. So regardless of what I had to do, I would get it done.
And that's the owner?
That was the owner.
And that's what they say. Like, sometimes the magic you are looking for is
Yeah.
in the work you're avoiding.
100%.
Like, the things you don't want to
Yeah.
do because it makes you uncomfortable
Yep.
is what you should be doing sometimes.
Yep. And our relationship started getting better and better and better. And it was up until the third year that we were working together that conversations were coming up that, hey, you know, this business is going to be yours one day. I'm like, you're crazy, dude. Like, I have like $80 in my account right now. Like, I have no money to buy a business. And he's like, it's going to be yours one day. And then he was almost going to sell it in 2018, but things stalled. We made it better. 2019 came, and then that's when he's like, hey, I'm serious. Like, it's available to you if you want it, or we can sell it to someone else. I'll give you 10% of whatever we sell it for. I appreciate everything you've been doing and whatever, you know, you've been making business better, so I appreciate that. And that was kind of like the wake-up call. I told my dad, I'm like, I'm a little nervous, but I'm also excited because I'm like, hopefully he sells it, because if he sells it, I'm gonna get like maybe around like 50 or 60,000. I can go buy myself a Mercedes. And that was my mindset, you know. Like, I was thinking too small. And then my dad's like, well, what could it be if we actually did that? I'm like, how are we gonna buy that? I have no money. You have no money. Like, no one has money, you know.
Yeah.
And I just started asking people, like close relatives, for money, and we made it work. But once again, it was the owner that put me in that position where he was okay to be like, hey, you know what? Just like a deposit. We'll do a payment plan for like 3 years, and I paid it off in 10 months. So it was really good because like it forced me to do all the things I hated.
Yeah.
And now obviously like all those things I hated now I love. So it's just practice.
So it's kind of like what Cody Sanchez is promoting, right? Like,
yeah.
the creative financing, put money down and kind of pay it off or
Yes.
something.
Can you talk more about that? So what was the deposit like?
Yeah, how
for
did you
something
structure like
this?
that deal?
Uh-huh.
And was he, because I know this is really hot right now. People
Yeah.
want to buy businesses. A lot of people are retiring, the baby
Yeah.
boomers, right? They're trying to get rid of businesses. And was he like, I'm over business, I want to retire? Or what was his motive? And was he like pushing it towards you? Like,
So his main motive was the fact that since he's a window tinting owner,
Yeah.
he had like at the time he had I think like 3 locations. He thought that it was unfair to me, the fact that I would like just put everything into the business and I wasn't really being compensated, even though like that 2019 I was getting 10% of commissions. I mean, I was getting better pay, but he's like, this is not enough. It doesn't feel right.
because you're such a good employee. Like,
He just wanted like the
Compensate
opportunity
you.
because
Yeah.
he's like, it's not right for me to like just come once a month here. In my other businesses, I'm there like 3 or 4 times. So I feel like you're not getting the attention that you guys deserve, and I think it's either right to,
That's interesting.
you know. So
Yeah.
so he's a big-hearted guy. Like he, once again, like I'm here because of him.
Yeah.
And the reason he sold is because he wanted to do like a win-win where he helps me out, and he helps himself by just getting the money that the down deposit to start another location. And he ended up buying another property.
So he's focusing on window tinting.
He decided to focus his on tint.
gotcha.
And he opened up more locations. He actually bought a shopping center. That was a huge win for him.
Yeah.
Huge opportunity because it was like a big shopping center. Leased out the other little offices, and it worked out great for him as well. And the big thing here was the deposit I did was $40,000.
40,000.
Um,
And how did you come up with that?
So it was honestly mainly my father-in-law.
Okay.
There was like here little portions here and there from like my parents and like just other like relatives, but the majority was from my father-in-law, and that was a blessing. My biggest thing was like, okay, I got this, and my monthly payments were gonna be I think it was like 5,000.
5,000 to
5,000 a
the
month.
owner for 3
To
years.
the owner, yeah, for 3 years. And I'm like, okay, that included a certain amount of interest because he said like, hey, you know what, you pay it off early, it's gonna be this much. You pay it in
Okay.
2 years. So I was like, let's shoot for 3 years, you
And
know,
what was the company valued at, like at that point?
like around $500,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
$500,000.
he could have sold it for 5 or 6 times more than he sold it to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he wasn't about the money.
Yeah.
He was more about the opportunity,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the main things that put me in that position were the fact that I did more than I was getting paid for. So he really respected that. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a business, and I don't know what I would be doing right now. But it's kind of like you can say I earned that opportunity in the things that I did on a daily basis, and that was really appreciated like by him, and to now we have a great relationship. Yeah,
That's a really cool story.
yeah,
That's an important lesson too. Just like always, whatever you're doing, just doing more, like
100%.
exceeding whatever job you have currently. Like anyone, they could do more,
Yeah.
and they might be presented with opportunities like that, right? So
100%.
you went in and you gave it 110% every single day, and then you got presented the
And then-
Bigger.
opportunity.
Yeah, and I know you said when you first started working there, it was really slow, and now I know that it's
Yeah.
you guys are really, really busy.
Yeah.
And what did you do to like transform that business?
So by the end of the time that he was still the owner, that year he started going like harder on marketing.
Okay.
His main thing was always Google Ads, and Google Ads was like doing really well. Yelp at the time was doing okay, and when he was doing that, he was only spending I think like $500 on ads on Yelp and like around 1,000 for Google. And I'm like, okay, I know the results he was getting. What can happen if I can just like go like 1,500 on Google Ads,
Yeah.
keep Yelp the same?
Yeah.
So I just went a little bit harder on the push. It worked, but I was screwing it up because I wasn't ready to take on
Workers.
clientele because I was screwing up the calls. I wanted more leads, but that wasn't my problem, you know. So I learned that after a year, I learned.
Wait, what do you mean you're screwing up the calls?
So you know when sometimes you get people want more leads, but you're not prepared for the leads because when you answer the phone, it's
Yeah.
not the
Your
proper
sales.
manner.
Your
Yeah,
sales.
we've encountered so many businesses where
Yeah.
we bring in the leads,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to close or
Yeah,
sell.
yeah.
Like they have a sales process
Yeah.
So
issue.
their sales crumbles,
Yes.
and it's like we kind of it's a good and bad thing when we do that for a business.
Yes.
It's like we're bringing in so many leads that they can't even take it.
Yep. Yeah. And that was a problem I was having. There was no script. There was nothing. So I was like, I couldn't track it, you know. And
And when you can't track, you can't grow.
exactly, you know. So there was growth. I could say it was lucky growth or whatever it was. I mean, obviously I did go harder because I knew that there was a bunch of bills to get paid, and it forced me to like increase a little bit. That first month we made like an extra 12,000 than we normally did. So it was a
Okay.
huge win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would average about like 35, 40 grand per month. And then that month, it was in August. It was a good summer, you can say.
Yeah.
Things worked out. And that's kind of, it gave me a little bit of traction. So I'm
And
like,
how
okay,
much did you make that month?
I made like around 58,000.
Okay, and was that the most you've ever made in a month?
At the,
At the time, yeah.
So my goal from there was like, okay, every month I need to make at least like 5 more thousand. That way, when I make the payment, it's like it's
It's
free.
the
You know, it's like that was my terminology. So then that was happening. The second month, I mean, it was like only like 3,000 that we made more. So I'm like, hey, you gotta make sure we push because normally October, November, December, the way it worked, the previous owner would be like, damn, slower season.
Yeah.
For a lot of
October,
businesses.
November.
Yeah.
November was like would always be really bad.
Uh,
So that was my main focus. I'm like, damn, this is the worst time I could have cut a shop. You know, like going into this winter
Yeah.
season, how is it gonna go? Well, we actually like kept the steady numbers, like going through the winter, and now I'm like, this is a huge blessing because
Yeah.
like before, like the previous years, in those months we would do like 25 or 30,000 in those months, and that first year in business I did over 45. So it was good.
Yeah.
I kind of maintained the momentum. And after that, it's like, okay, like business is going well, but I felt like I wasn't really growing. because I was lacking a lot of things. I got the business. My biggest thing when I was gonna acquire the business is that, I'm not ready. I told the owner, I'm not ready. I don't know anything about business. I don't know anything about numbers. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know I only know how to do the job. He's like, just like Grant says, commit now, figure it out later. That's literally what he told me. He's like, you'll get it. That's the easy stuff.
Yeah.
And the year and a half, that gap, that's when I started focusing more on like, okay, I need to get better in business. Like I need to understand more automotive.
What year was that?
That was 2020.
Okay.
And at this point,
2021,
I
my
know
bad.
you have a wife and you have a baby. How old was your baby, and how was that?
So my
Like
baby,
taking that risk.
the first 2 years in business were okay. There was growth, but not a lot. But the first year was very hard to balance things out because like I was literally at the shop from like 7 in the morning to like 9 or 10 p.m. And I had a wife at the time.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You still have a wife.
I mean, I still do it, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
at that time when we were starting, like it was hard to balance things out because I was like, we were like just a couple months married, you know, and it worked out in a sense that she was working and getting off late, like until 7 p.m. But it got to the point where I'm like, this is not a life, you know, like we both work. She has to get home. She has to cook. We have dinner. We go to sleep, and same thing. It felt like a job, not a business, you know. And then
You
we
bought
talked.
yourself a job.
Literally, that's how it felt.
That's a lot of
because
entrepreneurs
that's,
too.
I mean, yeah, being honest, like that's what it felt. Even my dad told me, he's like, dude, like it feels like you just have a job because before you would come and visit us more often, but now it's like you have a business, you don't want to leave it for a day.
Yeah.
I get that you have responsibilities, but you gotta make sure you like do this, remove yourself, because then that's what's the whole
So
purpose.
The
what
business runs you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what did you do to remove yourself a little bit more to like buy back your time?
So when I started like really like digging in deep, pretty much.
Was there something that happened where you were like, okay, like I can't be working like this
Nothing
anymore?
really big happened, but I told my wife, I'm like, hey, you know what? Because it got to a point where like, she's like, how can I help you so you can come home earlier? You know what? There's a lot of ways you can help me, but the biggest way right now is probably just paperwork. I told her I hate paperwork.
Yeah.
I hate dealing with all that stuff, you know? And that was literally what was happening. I would close around 6:30, and I still had to do paperwork, pen and paper, you know?
Yeah.
Like, super time consuming.
Yeah.
And we did that, and she started helping me with that slowly started getting more duties like on the tax side where she can communicate with accountant and like do all that stuff. That was a big weight off my shoulders. Started doing payroll, so that way I can start focusing more on the big business side versus operations. So that first year that I did the mentorships, not mentorships, I did 2 conferences that were just automotive. Just talking to other people, other business owners that were really big in the industry, like it gave me a lot of ideas. I got a better software, which at the time I was paying like $199, and this software was like $600. I'm like, that's like $500. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But once again, the small mentality.
Yeah.
And then that comes with another thing that I have to get, and it was like another $500. I'm like, dude, this is like $1,100 more. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is it really gonna work? And I that month, I like when I did the whole demo and everything, I didn't do it right away. But then I was just really scared. I'm like, instead of cutting expenses, I'm adding bigger expenses. I'm like, it got to a point like I felt lost. I'm like,
Yeah.
should I do it? Should I
Was
not
it
do
Kukui?
it? So Kukui.
Kukui?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was Techmetric as well. And
Okay.
what made me feel better was the fact that, hey, you know what? If it doesn't work out, we can cancel. There's no contracts. I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. I fell in love with it
Yeah.
because we eliminated all the paper stuff that we had to do, you know, like manually. And over here, it has everything. So I'm like, damn, this is great.
Yeah.
How come I haven't heard about this? Well, the reason I wasn't hearing about those softwares because I wasn't attending conferences. So you only know what you know because you don't go out of your little bubble, you know. And the moment I started being more into the automotive like conferences, I learned so much about software, equipment, and so many things, parts stores, a lot of connections. So that helped me grow. And the next problem that I had was people. That's when I started going more into like, okay, on the business side, like how do I manage a team?
Yeah.
And the first investment was Grant, and then actually this crazy. So the very first conference I went to was Driven 6.
Okay, with Albert.
When Albert started talking about Grant Cardone, I'm like, who the fuck is Grant Cardone? I don't know who the guy is.
Yeah.
I literally looked it up on Google, and I get bombarded with ads like everywhere. Grant Cardone, and I'm like, okay, let me just peek into this, and it turned into like the $250 ticket to GrowthCon virtually. So that was the first thing. That turned into a $5,000 event. That turned into a $40,000 event. And then it kept going on up.
Yeah.
And then I also started working with Andy Elliott. Did more stuff with Albert.
Yeah.
And Rob Luna. Like a lot of people that I've invested with. And that's when really things changed, like, huge.
So how much in total would you say you invested into mentorships, coaching, events?
To this day, I think more than 750,000.
Oh.
Yeah, easily. We were doing
And
math
that's
the
all
other day,
recently.
and for this past year, it was like over 250K.
Wow.
At what
So-
point did you hit your first like mill
It
in your
was
business?
2022.
Was
It was like
surreal?
$1,014,000.
Was
to be
it?
exact.
Oh, woo!
Yeah.
It's real. Like wow.
It
I
was,
mean, a
but it
couple years
wasn't.
ago, you
Yes.
were a technician.
So it wasn't because I'm like, okay, so it's like $1,014,000. I'm like, damn, this is cool, like $1,014,000. But I'm like, it was just like a
Another
quick
day.
little thought, you know. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I was excited because I reached it, but I'm like, this should be the minimum
Standard.
target moving forward. You know,
Yeah.
like there's no reason why I do less.
Yeah.
Next year I gotta do at least like another 100,000. That was my main goal. You know,
Yeah.
there has to be growth, and it was a moment of being proud. You can say just
Mhm.
comparing, you know, to previous years, comparing like month to month. I'm like, damn, now like we make at that time we were making like 100K in a month, versus before I'm like, how was my previous boss getting through this? Because I'm like, I can't imagine making 35 or 40 grand a month.
Yeah.
So obviously you change things as you go. There's new metrics. One thing that I always tell myself, I'm like, if you did it once, you can do it multiple times. If you
Yeah.
have a new, bigger sales day, that should be the new norm, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think what's cool about hitting those records is then it kind of tells your mind like you can do this, and now it
Yeah.
becomes a norm.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like, okay, now this is minimum is like
100%.
$1 million,
yep.
and then now you can
You
go
can
up.
keep going up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when all this thing was going on, it was COVID.
Mm.
So I was like, damn, like, what am I doing right? What am I like currently doing at the moment that is working? Because I would drive by shops and I'm like, damn, they're slow. I'm like, my shop is doing really well.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that I feel like I still do. Like sometimes I feel like I underappreciate myself in the fact that like I'm going for so much that I don't really like do like this to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like maybe like I'm doing better than I think I am.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's just up here. I always want more. So I never really like get excited when I get like a big number. Like it's for a couple minutes, but then
Yeah.
it's like, dude, like what the fuck? Like it, like inside of me, there's like nothing really special that
Right.
I, you know, that I felt like it changed, you know?
I feel like we're the same.
Yeah,
way.
we're the same. I don't think we've
Like,
ever celebrated.
We're
not
not
a
big at
single-
celebrating. We'll
Yeah.
have like the biggest day, and then we'll just continue. Like,
Like-
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't
But-
think we've ever celebrated.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, because I
yeah,
think it's also
it
like
gets to a point where like you do have to celebrate. People say celebrate the small
Yeah.
wins, but it's like okay, let's go celebrate, let's go have a dinner or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
like it doesn't feel like something really changed inside of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
no,
You know,
no.
For me, it's like more like okay, like if we did this, okay, now we can do a trip. That's like how we can celebrate. That
Yeah.
to me, like
Yeah.
it's more of a memory than
Yeah.
actually hitting the target. You know, because
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
remember when I went to Cancun, but I can't remember like what really happened around that time. Like you know,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
It's always just like having a little appreciation, you can say, because people do tell me, you know, like, hey, you know, you're doing better than you think, and maybe you just gotta stop a little bit and sometimes appreciate yourself a little bit more, and
Right.
that will also help you reach bigger goals and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. So it seems like you bought the business and it literally blew up. Like from what it was doing before to what you're
Yeah.
doing now. Was there ever a moment where you like what was your most challenging moment with your business where you're like, I shouldn't have done this, or getting a little scared, like should I try to sell it, or was this the right thing to do? Has there ever like what has been your toughest like moment in business?
I would say it was actually that year I hit $1 million.
Really.
Because after that, when I hit $1 million, I was just shooting for, this year, 2023, I want to make at least 100K more. But then that's when I went to Andy Elliott's event. And the first thing he said, I felt like he was talking to me the whole event. It's like, some of you guys got to fucking go back and fire everyone on your team. I'm like, damn, he's right.
Yeah.
Like at that time,
Really?
I knew I hit a milestone, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I knew what he really meant was the fact that sometimes we let a lot of employees do their little thing or bad habits. and we kind of let fly by because of the value they bring to the company. But I knew at the time there was 3 people on the team. I'm like, dude, they're holding me down. If I remove them, 100K can be extra per month, and it can be like at the end of the year, it can be way more than 100K.
So did you remove them or did you train them?
So when that happened, literally I was driving back. It was such a long ass drive from Arizona to home.
You're thinking
The whole time I'm like, how do I do this? Should I fire them? Should I work with them? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So at the same time, I did get something with Bradley and Andy Elliott. It was like a coaching, like we had like 3 different calls, one-on-one. And I told them on our first call, I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. This really like stuck with me at your event. He's okay, dude, talk to me. Like, what do they bring to the company? And he called me through the way. And it got to the point like, okay, you need to have a meeting that you're gonna tell them that this is how things are now. At the time, I was hitting numbers like that, like just because we were going hard, but there was really no targets. There was no bottom line, like, hey, we have to make at least this much per day. We have these many cars. There was
There's
nothing.
no KPIs.
No
nothing,
KPIs. Even though like things were going well, I was so focused just on getting more people on the phone and closing them. And that to me is like, okay, that's gonna give us more business automatically. But obviously it wasn't like that. Not every car that comes in gets the same thing, but there's a lot of services that can get done. So I did get rid of one. And the other ones, they were like, okay, like let's adapt, let's train. I invested more into training.
How did that meeting go though when you met with them?
It was kind of like, they were like just quiet. They're like, who the hell is this guy? Like it was a big change just because I'm like, hey, like this is what I'm doing. They're like, at first I felt like they're like, oh, this guy is just full of shit. Like next week he's probably gonna come back with a different mindset. But they didn't see that. So then that's when the told them like, you know what, like we talked, it's been a week, nothing has changed. I think this is better, just go different ways. And the other 2, they stuck with me, and after what, like 2 months, they
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? That's so interesting. People who don't belong either in the culture or the environment, they will leave themselves a lot of the times. Like
100%.
they'll feel it. Like I don't belong here, or
Yep.
like everyone here is on a different journey, and they leave themselves.
And then I really felt scared because I'm like, dude, like I hope I'm making the right decision, because that guy I fired, like he was my best technician. So I'm like, hopefully I can bring someone better than him. The he had was, he was very responsible. He was a good tech. He was very knowledgeable. He had a lot of experience. He started working at the same time. He started working 2 days after I started working there. So when I became the owner, it was like the respect wasn't really there. Like, it was more like, oh, we're friends. But that was my fault because I never drew the line,
Yeah.
And he would show up late, sometimes 3 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Saturdays, oh, my kid's sick. Mondays, my kid's sick. And it's like, I would always be pissed, but I would never do anything about it.
Yeah.
But that was really the biggest time that I had, like damn, like hard thing's gonna be now. Like I get rid of this guy. How
And
soon
then
am I
the
gonna
2
find
guys
someone?
leave.
And then 2 months later, the other guys leave. I'm like, damn, dude, what? Like I had to, like I felt like I went back to square one again.
Yeah.
Because I had to run the front, I had to work on the cars, I had to do everything
that
again.
sounds so tough because good techs are like the heart of your business,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
having good
It's
techs
like
on your
us,
team.
like media buyers. Like if
Yeah.
like all our media buyers left.
Yeah.
It's at the point it's really frightening, but that was a big game changer, because then I started bringing in the right people for the company, and I got rid of the people that, like you mentioned, didn't belong in the company because of the culture. At the time, honestly, I mean, automotive industry, I'm not saying every person does this, but like most of them, they're like into bad habits.
Yeah.
Racing, they're into smoking weed, drugs, and a lot of stuff. I mean, it's honest, and I'm like, am I ever gonna fight someone that's like me, that doesn't smoke, doesn't do none of that like stuff, like like
Just be responsible.
just like I want someone just to
It's
do
a
their
job,
job,
yeah.
like responsible. And now I slowly started getting them, and now I mean I love the team that I have.
Yeah.
And I did take a lot of responsibility. I'm like, okay, I need to bring good people, but I gotta make sure my business is good enough for those people, because I'm not gonna attract good people if my business is not good. And that I got from Brandon Dawson. Same thing when I went to the workshop with him. He kind of like hit it on the point again. He's like, some of you guys want good people, but your business is shitty. Like, good people don't belong in shitty businesses. I'm like, I thought like he's talking to me, dude. Even though like my ego could say like, you hit $1 million, you're balling, like no, like I was having that people problem.
yeah.
That I feel like my company wasn't good enough for good people to attract them and come work for me.
At that point, did you have core values set in place?
There was
Or
no core values. Once again, it was just like, we need more money, we need more business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like kind of put all the boring stuff aside, you know,
Yeah.
that boring stuff that everyone puts aside. Like that was me. No meetings, no culture, no core values. Like there was nothing, you know.
That's
so,
funny. I feel like we focus a lot on the boring stuff, like a
Yeah.
ton. And I'm telling you, we gotta focus a little more on the.
Money, sales, and marketing.
I was like money making activities because
Yeah.
we can go deep into the systems,
Yeah.
automations, and
So what are some of the core values you have now?
So integrity is big,
Mm-hmm.
teamwork, quality. Those are like the main things because we look at what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Want to make sure that my business, my brand, it has to reflect who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So quality has to be big. I want
Mhm.
everything to be like as perfect as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it takes teamwork to do everything. You know, so those are my main ones.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I do work a lot with business owners.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, so a lot of business owners come to the shop, and that's when I really told the team, I'm like, guys, like, you never know who you're working on. Please, just triple, quadruple the vehicle
Yeah.
before it leaves.
Because then it also represents
Exactly,
you, right?
Because I'm like, does it do for me to be doing the networking, doing all this, getting the accounts into to right here,
Mhm.
just for us to not deliver, you know.
Mhm.
yeah.
And that really helped me when I became a member of the chamber, because I really like made sure that we put the service at a bigger top notch, because before we were, but little things were happening here and there, you know,
They would
like
slide.
yeah.
And now that you have business friends, you're like, hey, you're
Hey,
not
like,
messing
no,
up.
like,
My
no, we
friend's
gotta
Rolls
make
Royce over here.
exactly, because exactly, there's a lot of liability.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm not gonna put just some random person on a car like that, because I know the liability behind
Yeah.
it. But at the end of the day, I know mistakes are always gonna happen, and the more that we literally triple check the car before it leaves,
Mhm.
and it goes by 3 different people, you know.
Wow.
That's
So
awesome.
at the end of the day, the master tech, the main guy that I have, is the one that just double checks everything before it leaves, just to confirm. That has helped me a lot with like almost getting rid of the whole comebacks,
Mhm.
because I was just there. I hated that call when I was in the front desk.
Mhm.
I was just there 2 days ago, and my car's not starting now, and I didn't know it changed. Okay, it's 2 different things, but go ahead and bring it down.
Yeah.
And sometimes, obviously, you're not happy because, as a consumer, you do something, and right away you want to blame people because it's just there, and it cannot be related. Sometimes, let's say it is related.
Mhm.
There can be both, but obviously, the person behind the phone is not gonna be happy, and then. That's the part I hated about being in the front desk. Like, I have to deal with this shit today. My day's already bad, and I have to deal with this customer.
Yeah.
So it's always like that. I'm like, how can I get rid of all that bad experience? Let me take accountability. Let's confirm before it leaves. Like, everything on our end is done correctly.
Mhm.
If there's anything that it's needed on the car, making sure that's documented, because we were lacking that. We were doing something good, but sometimes we weren't documented. And if it's not documented, it's like, well, how do we know that you didn't do it? You know, so now that's why I got the software that I have, you know, pictures, digital inspections. It makes I got rid of paper, and then it makes everything easier. You know, you have a profile. Every customer has a profile. So every time I'm always getting better in the way we do things, and software. I want it to be faster because I know time is money, you know, and for me, that's everything.
So you would say you went from $100 software to like a $600 software, but it
Yeah.
saves you more time where it makes you more
100%.
money, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's crazy now that obviously that we're working together and helping other businesses like the one I have. Like, it's crazy to see that people are doing the same thing I was doing back then.
Deja vu,
And
right?
then it's like, dude, like, wait, like, let me show you like what I need, you know?
And that's what I love about what you're doing now is if the audience doesn't know and if anyone's interested, I feel like what you have is such a dream. Like, you're just a regular tech. Like, if you can do it, anyone else can do that, right?
100%.
And you do a creative financing, and there's so many ways. It's just wanting to, right?
Yep.
And so now Nesta actually works with us. We run his ads, and he's actually a 10X coach. So
Yeah.
he's actually coaching automotive people
Yep.
that have this business. And what better person to teach you than someone like you acquired a company and
Yeah.
you scaled it up. So
100%.
I feel like you're able to even give back, because I'm
Yeah.
sure you feel it. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
how to help you.
Yeah, it's just a passion inside. Like, dude, like,
Yeah.
okay, we need to get on the Zoom call. Let me show you exactly what you're lacking.
Yeah.
And like, damn, I gotta talk to TechMetric because I'm sending so many
You
people
gotta
to
get
them,
an
you know?
affiliate code.
I gotta get affiliate literally because I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
even getting paid for this. I'm like, I'm so excited on the thing that it did for me that I
Yeah.
just go ahead and recommend it because I know that most of the problems that they're going through is the fact that they're not keeping track of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing everything pen and paper.
Yeah.
They have some of these people have bigger shops than me, and they're only making 200K a year. I'm like, there's no way, you know,
Yeah.
like you gotta do this.
And
you
one
know?
thing I
So-
love is to see you evolve from like tech to owner to now
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
Like such a full circle. And I know you even through your event, which is huge.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we know events are
Yeah.
not easy to
Yeah,
do.
not at all.
And
Yeah.
as just a friend too, I'm so proud of everything you've
Thank you.
done and seeing you evolve because it's not easy. And you have 2 kids, like
Yeah.
a lovely wife, and you're still so young. So to be able to do all of this, I think sometimes we don't like give
Yeah.
enough credit.
Yeah.
And I love the space that you're in. And I want to ask, like, what's next? Like, are you thinking of franchising what
Mhm.
you're currently doing? Are you
Yes.
thinking of taking a percent of like other people's shops and maybe helping them scale? Or what's what do you
For me,
have
the
planned?
main goal has always been to franchise, and I want to do that with Brandon Dawson and 10X because they've done it multiple times with other businesses like mine. But at the end of the day, I do want to do something now with kind of like Cody Sanchez that kind of acquire businesses that are not doing well, that they're not willing to put in the work because there's just so many shops out there that they're just. I hate to see it when
They're
I,
on the
when I-
deathbed.
Yeah, it's like, damn, dude, like you're in a prime location. Like
Yeah.
you just need someone that comes in and knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if it's gonna cost, you know, whatever it's gonna cost, obviously if it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
it's a win-win for them. Kind of like remove that like
Yeah.
headache from them
Yeah.
and acquire something that I know I can do better. So that's like the main focus. The express loop that I have, I never gonna change the name of it. Obviously, I can't really. I mean, I can franchise it, but just imagine Rancho Express Loop in Hollywood. The name doesn't fit.
I know,
Yeah.
see.
It doesn't fit.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So
when
I
you
have
do-
to make sure I do like a sister store out of
Yeah.
it to make sure I don't mess up the thing I've been able to build in
Yeah.
Rancho Cucamonga, but make something different where you know we can have it everywhere in the U.S. So
That's awesome.
that's
When
exciting.
you plan to do that? Like, what's your goal? What's your target year?
I want to say within the next 15, 18 months, like
Okay.
have multiple locations, at least 5 locations. So that's the plan.
At least
And-
5?
Yeah, at least 5.
Woo.
And then when you said you're gonna do it with Brandon Dawson, like how
Yeah.
does that work?
So it's a very big investment. It's
How much?
200K.
200K.
It's a process that normally takes about 11 months to a year.
Mhm.
It's a long process just because this is the reason I'm working with them. When you work with someone like that know what they're doing, they're actually telling you why it makes sense to open up a location in this exact city at exact location.
Mm-hmm.
Versus me being like, oh, this location looks good. It has a lot of traffic, but I
Yeah.
don't know anything. I don't know
Mhm.
metrics.
There's a lot of data behind that. Like,
100%,
there's
yeah.
a reason why the In-N-Outs and the Chick-fil-A's are
Yeah,
right there.
the
You think,
McDonald's,
oh,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
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 there's a
yeah.
lot of data behind.
So that's the reason why
locations.
I want to do that with them because I've talked to people that did it with them. I've seen where they're at now, so it makes 100% sense. And it's one of those things that okay, like it justifies the 200K
Mm-hmm.
because if it's gonna give me the growth that I'm looking for, and obviously I want my stores to be cranking at a location that it makes sense, not just a place that doesn't make sense at all.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a little fun game, but instead you get to
Oh,
pick your
shit.
faith, and you get to. So the way it works is you give it a spin, and it's a business related question. So
Okay.
just you get to choose
What is
your
the
question.
game called?
It's called Rapid Fire Grit. So,
Okay.
So
Spin it?
yeah, give it a little spin.
Let's see.
12 or
12. I think it's 12. So 12 is what's one habit that has had the biggest impact on your productivity?
before, you know, there's a difference between busy and being effective.
Mhm.
That's one of the biggest things. And I learned that from all, when you go to big events for like Alberts and Grants, all these events, like
Mhm.
they're like this, you know, they're moving fast
Yeah.
because there's so many things to get done.
Mhm.
So when you look at that, it's like we have the same 24 hours. How come I'm not there yet?
Yeah.
Well, we like, okay, well, I spent 3 hours on Instagram. I spent this over here. I spend an hour on my emails. How can we cut that, you know?
Yeah.
And understanding that the discipline of the time on how we do things at the end of the day, it's
Mhm.
just really important.
Yeah.
It makes you, one, be more effective and get more things done in the day. That sometimes, I mean, it takes waking up an hour earlier, hour and a half earlier, like, by all means, you know, but you
Yeah.
gotta get it done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We need a little background
Same one again.
music. What is it?
29.
List 3 must-have skills for a successful entrepreneur.
3 must-haves. Well, you have to have grit.
Of
not-
course.
It's not easy, you know, because as an entrepreneur, you're always facing problems. It never gets easy. I mean, let's be honest.
It
you know.
never ends
Yeah.
Like,
either.
the problems only get bigger as you scale.
Yeah.
You know, there's bigger problems that you have.
Yeah.
More money, more.
The second one is it's just having a clear vision. You know, like why are we starting a business? What whole point of the business? And obviously a mission statement. And that's something I was lacking back in the day too. I didn't have that. Once again, I was just like, I bought myself a job. I knew how to do the thing, but there was really no path on where I was going. Like, am I going the right way, or like what is the right way? You know. So I think those are the biggest things.
Out of curiosity, do you ever feel like you get distracted with different like things you're working on? Because
Yeah,
I know you
100%.
do auto, but then you
100%.
also have like your events and then your
Yeah.
coaching. And I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, and we've done this before, the like shiny object syndrome, where it's like
we've done it plenty of
like I
times.
think we're finally kind of learning, but man, it's like the hardest thing as an entrepreneur.
It
So
is.
how do you deal with that, or do you feel like you're it all
I
alive?
feel like I still do the same thing like you guys mentioned. Like sometimes like, oh, hey, dude, you gotta make sure that we're still going on the right track.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, you know, I have the shop, you know, I have the podcast, the Infinite Playbook, I have the Infinite Growth Expo, a conference. I'm a 10x business coach. I'm a husband, you know, a father. It's so many things, right? But sometimes like we can tend to go a route that is like it looks shiny,
Yeah.
but it's like, are we going the right direction?
Yeah.
How is this gonna put us where we want to be for the end of the year? And I think that's the main question I asked myself, and I was like, how does this make sense? Does mentorship with a certain person make sense? You know, even though it sounds good, like in the long run, like how is that gonna give us speed? And I think just lining up everything that you do for if you really want to go, like is it really gonna give you speed or is it gonna slow down? I think it's one of the biggest things that you could ask yourself, because even then sometimes like I'm going too fast, like dude, like wait a minute, like gotta slow it down, you know, because you're being a little too reckless right now. But I think it's just understanding, obviously.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's super tough for entrepreneurs. I know for us, we've had a shiny object syndrome. We go, oh, this looks cool. This
We
looks
always
cool.
get started
How
with
about this?
Yeah.
software.
It's
I
tough.
can, you're like, I can build it in 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like we're hungry for more.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to make
I
sure.
think as
that-
entrepreneurs too, we like building stuff. Like we
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
creating stuff. So
Yeah.
like that, always something new we want to do. So
I
yeah.
feel like I really
Yeah.
learned that from Alex Hormozy. Like
Yeah.
one thing, like
Yeah.
focus on one thing for like
Make the
10
main
years.
thing the main
And that
thing,
will
yeah.
be super
That's so
successful.
true. That's so true because there's people that if there's people that tell me like, dude, what the hell? What are you doing? Like, just eliminate all that stuff. Just focus on one thing.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but then I feel like I do have to do this in order for my personal brand to grow, to make sure that when I'm franchising,
Yeah.
my name is known. Like,
Yeah.
who is this guy with the, you know, like,
And it,
line up.
it ties up. Like
It
you're
does, yeah.
building your brand and you have the events, but everybody knows what you do.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what.
Yeah.
Like if I had a car issue, I know who I would call.
Yeah.
So do you feel like hosting your own events help build your brand a lot?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I haven't made money back yet, but it's been good because the networking meeting, the people that I met, like it opens more doors.
I mean, you probably
And-
made money because people
Oh,
started knowing
yes,
you.
Yes.
knowing
in
about
the
you,
long
your
run, if you
shop.
go back, like yes, but not like right away.
Mm-hmm.
And where I go with this is that obviously the posting content on social media is so crucial because you go on someone's profile and if it looks like constant, that kind of gives you a little bit more credibility. Oh, this guy's been doing it for quite a bit. And just recently, Jerry Grant's right hand, he started following me.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, damn, like, okay, my foot is on the door a little bit more, getting closer to Grant, even though
Yeah.
we're working together. But, like, he likes my stuff. Like, he, like, interacts with messages. So it's like, this only happened because the fact that, obviously, I keep pushing content. So that's when, like, big people like that, they also see, like, okay, this guy's for real.
Yeah.
He's not full of it, you know? So 100% the event has done good things for it. The social media, the posting, it's been crucial.
Let's do the.
I'm excited for
the
your next
last-
event. When is it coming up?
I want to say it's gonna be in the fall. No set dates yet, but I want to do something special it's gonna be good.
Nice.
Very
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, your last one was really
Awesome.
good.
It was
You had
good,
David
Awesome.
Meltzer, you had
Yeah.
Mario,
Tim
you had
Story.
Tim
Tim
Story.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had some really good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So should we do the last segment and
Yeah.
wrap
Let's do
it
the
up?
last segment.
All right, so there's one more.
What is this gonna be?
He's like,
You're
oh,
gonna
what
have to
up?
put your hand
Challenge?
in the box, the
That
secret
sounds-
box. Okay, so this one's just a quick little one. Let's see.
For all
But
the games.
essentially, you have 90 seconds, and it's like a rapid fire business trivia questions.
Okay.
So
Sheesh, get to it.
you want to read them out, or you want?
Yeah.
So
Some are easy, some are hard.
yeah, let me see.
What name of this one?
This one's called the Grit Deck.
The
Okay.
Grit deck. It's usually a card deck.
Shoot, you know what?
What?
This one might not work out.
Why? If not, it's fine. We played
Yeah.
another game.
We'll play another game.
We're
She has a
trying
backup.
It's fine.
Yeah, this might actually. I don't think
We'll
this
just
one's
spend-
gonna work
we'll
out
do-
because you have to log
Yeah,
into
you-
Canva and
Yeah,
all
I
that
think
stuff.
we're good. But honestly, I'm really looking forward to your event. I think one thing we've learned is putting an event on isn't easy.
It's hard. It's one of those things that you can give up really easily.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's very stressful, but 100% worth it. The day off, it's like you look at it like, damn, it was worth it.
I still
Yeah.
remember. I think the day of, you're like, I think you said something like, I can't wait for this to be over. Like, I'm
Oh,
already.
that's literally the feeling that you're getting closer. Like, dude, I want this thing out of the way. Like,
Yeah.
because when it gets closer to the event, yes, like I do bring myself obviously more attention on the event.
Mhm.
It does maybe pull away from some other things, but it's like, okay, that's why I felt like I get this shit out of the way,
Yeah.
because I just want to make sure I go back to the other things I haven't been putting attention to.
Yeah.
And that's when you can see that sometimes things can get a little bit jealous, like other things can get a little bit jealous, like maybe more time on a certain business than
Mhm.
other. You're gonna see that also in the KPIs,
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
numbers
yeah.
don't
Yeah,
lie
and
when
numbers
you're
don't lie.
neglecting something.
Yeah.
But I think it's awesome what you've done. It's crazy the story you have. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many techs probably that it's their dream to own the shop, you know?
Yeah.
And you've been able to create millions at a young age and
Yeah.
go from tech to owner, but not just stop there. Go from like almost like building your brand, working with Grant Cardone, Brandon
Yeah.
Dawson, hosting your events, and now being a 10X coach. Like, it's
Yeah.
been amazing to see, your transition. And I know it's just a start. Like, you're
Yeah,
still
yeah,
so young,
100%.
and I'm excited to see
Thank you.
what's to come. So before we close out, do you want to leave the audience with any message, especially if there's somebody that's in your shoes, somebody that is a tech or is a shop owner and maybe not doing too good? Like, what's something, because I know you coach them, so
Yeah.
what's something you can leave people off where they're like, man, you know what, I can implement that into my business?
I mean, the biggest thing I want to say is like, don't be afraid to open up a business, or don't be afraid to grow your business, because I know sometimes we feel afraid when it comes to mentorship,
yeah.
we feel like whatever the price is, like, oh, it's too expensive. You shut yourself down real quick versus saying that, you know what, I can leverage a credit card. I'm going to leverage it the right way because I'm spending this much because my business is going to grow. I'm not getting a credit card and spending it on something that it's not going to be an asset.
Mhm.
So I think being like in the right position to really take the company to a new level is very crucial. That I think at the end of the day, we're always in control of our outcomes. You got to make sure that we're producing enough, doing everything that we really can in order to really take it to a whole different level. And I feel like that's the biggest thing I run into all the time. People are scared of debt. People are scared of credit cards
Mhm.
because they're scared to start falling behind. But at the end of the day, if you don't change anything, nothing's gonna change, right?
Nothing changes.
So it's super simple. I think business can be really simple as long as you work with the right people, you work with mentors that obviously done the thing that you want to do, and I think that's the biggest hack to business.
Awesome.
And where can people find you?
They can find me on social media, on actually every platform. The Nestor Gutierrez. My shop name is Rancho Express Lubink. And then we have the Infinite Growth Playbook and the Infinite Growth Expo.